If you have an interest in horses and love learning more about horses, the horse industry, teaching, or even managing your own horse business, then you're in the right place. We would love you to join us on our mission, which is to improve the lives of horses around the world through the education of riders, handlers, and trainers. So get comfortable, listen in, and enjoy.
This is another of our popular Listener's Choice interviews, which we're playing over the weekend. We've chosen the most popular interviews for you to select the Listener's Choice winner. If you're not sure how the Listener's Choice competition works, have a look at horsechats.com/choice for the rules and the leaderboard. Horse welfare and safety are of utmost importance where humans have any interaction with horses. Within the courses at International Horse College, we only utilise methods that promote safe and humane ways of interaction between horses and humans. We only support safe methods of educating riders, handlers and trainers about horse welfare. internationalhorsecollege.com, registered training organisation 31352. Today's guest is Adam Riess. Adam's a dressage specialist, he's a trainer, coach and an A-level judge. Adam's also a German barometer and a qualified young horse judge. How are you today, Adam?
Thanks, Glenys. How are you?
Well, thank you. Adam, we normally start off with a favourite quote or something that you would use in a lesson. Have you got something for us today?
Yeah, look, what I always learned in the beginning when I was a bit younger was a little bit that, especially with the horses, to always ride them a bit with discipline and train them and try to improve the paces and not always the movement, because the movement is an end result of good training and exercise. I think that was a little bit when it was said, it stick a little bit with time even now. And I think exercises are really important instead just always movement and the understanding of loosening the horse. Okay,
yeah, so you're really working on improving the pace rather than just the tricks because, you're talking...
Yes.
Yeah. All right, no, that's good. And I think certainly a lesson for people to listen to and to think about. Adam, when you first started with horses, have you got some memories of when you first started?
Oh, yes. Actually, I started with vaulting.
Okay.
Yeah, vaulting, that is a bit, I don't know, it's not so big here, I think, in Australia. I started it, I think it helps you. I did a little bit competing, not big of vaulting, but I think what it makes you really balanced and independent because you don't, use reins, you do a bit gymnastic exercises on the horse's back, and I think that was the first introduction for me with horses.
Okay, and how old were you when you first started vaulting?
I was, 10 years old.
Okay, and was it done through the school, or how did you actually start?
It was a riding school. I came into it because a school friend had a pony there, just as the parents had, and I started there in a riding school, and that was a bit like a riding school. I can remember the instructor, we say in German, Reitlehrer, he was still the old school, like a military person and really strict. And sometimes it's a good thing. And of course, there were still, all kids in the same age. It doesn't matter was boy or girls. And it was fun. Yeah, it was fun. Good
introduction. And then what about dressage? Yeah. What made you so keen and so good, but, so focused on dressage?
When I really look back, I started actually a bit when I was younger. I was a bit more jumping, actually. Mm-hmm. I jumped a little bit more before I did dressage, but when I competed off a little bit like in Germany, like it was the L class, it was probably like to 1.20 meter. And then I was a little bit, when it got higher, a little bit more. I think as a jumping rider, you need a bit of good eye for the distance, and I was not so good. And then one experience like that, a friend of mine, she had a more trained horse, and I had a sit on it. And I think how it is many times that you learn a bit, some tricks or some movement where you get a bit into it and you stay with it.
Yes. Do you think it was the trained dressage horse that you rode that inspired you a bit?
Yeah, more of, I think she was really of higher level riding, and a little bit how, even when I was jumped horses, I was not really as much suppling the horses how supple this horse was. Mm-hmm. And I was really surprised, but in a good way, how kind of soft it was or how much it moved through the body, even it was an older horse. And so a little bit, that was also like inspiring. Then later when I did only dressage, that was a little bit, was always, you wanted to achieve. And even then, I think where I was then starting more to do dressage and now later did the apprenticeship, that was a little bit from the beginning, like the basics, especially when you start with young horses, was in a way simple, but it was very specific and disciplined.
Okay, yep.
And that, in a way, it was hard, but on the other hand, it was rewarding every day, or after a certain while that you saw the difference or you made a difference in the training. And of course, with months or years go by, you can train the horse and see the result when you compete.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And did you start your apprenticeship straight from school, or did you do something else first?
I did actually something else first. I was out of school and did actually a little bit. My parents are like, we were not a riding family or with horses.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't see it as a job, kind of.
Yeah.
And I did a bit actually, how can you say, with books, to print books a little bit.
Okay.
I did the apprenticeship for there,
yes.
But I was never really interested after that. And I always said then after that, when I was then not living at home anymore, a little bit, did it a bit by myself, rode for other people's horses, competed them, trained them. And then after a certain while, then I did the apprenticeship in a dressage stable. And my boss was a Grand Prix rider. And even before I started there, I rode a bit S classes, that means a bit FEI classes. And when I did the apprenticeship and was finished, I had a bit experience or a bit success, like in national level in Grand Prix. And that was a really big thing.
Yeah.
But I think, I don't know how it is here in Australia, but many times, like in Germany, it was in the beginning good. Now it's a bit not as bad, but especially certain years ago, 35 years ago, it was considered not a really job.
Yeah, yes.
Not a horse industry, yeah.
I certainly think it's changing, each...
It is changing, yeah.
But, you look back far enough and certainly it wasn't considered a job. I talked to a lot of the older, more experienced instructors and no, it wasn't. It's only been considered a job,
No, even though it was a hard bit. When you do it, it's a really hard job. It's not like you work from 8 to 5 or 9 to 5. It's really, 12 hours, 13 hours, weekends.
Yeah.
There's nothing really. But I think you have to be a little bit addicted or to be really horse mad
for sure
to do that. Yeah.
Well, what do you think? Being addicted, being horse mad, what else do you think needs to happen to have a career? Character traits or core skills there?
Yeah, look, I can only say, I think I mentioned it a little bit when I came here 20 years ago in 97. What I missed a little bit, or my saying was always when I started a bit teaching here, I said, here the people, they don't have any discipline.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, you know what I'm saying. A little bit like there was never really that when I started to do things, that was a little bit like expected that you worked on it when you are at home and you see, the next day or the following week somebody for lesson, that there has to be a change. And here's a bit sometimes, I call it, there was not always a discipline to work on things. Rather, like you said it too, to like show me tricks. I remember when I started the first time lesson, somebody said, you're from Germany, show me some tricks. That I heard a few times. And I thought to myself, no tricks you can really do. Tricks are tricks, but you can still do the higher movements. It doesn't have to be, don't take a shortcut and make it a bit uncomfortable for the horse. And I think in the long run, it will always bite you in the butt.
Yeah, for sure.
You have a big result, but it will, I don't know, it doesn't last for long.
No.
And I try always this a little bit to say you can, get it a quick to teach some tricks, but I'm not sure always is it last long.
Yes. You talked before about improving the pace and not always the movement. So I think you're sort of going back to the quote that you'd said earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think when the horse is supple and soft and gymnastic through the body, the movements are very easy. Especially if the rider has an idea what shoulder in is or what trave is, half pass is very easy because the horse is already supple, whatever you want to do. And even sometimes people, you go for lessons and somebody says to you, can we do the thing with the quarter in? Yeah, what is it? And they said, do you mean leg yielding? Do you mean trave? Oh, yeah, the thing with the trave. It's a bit like you have the feeling, there's no really understanding. And I say then to them, look, so long you don't even know what it is, then you should not even consider to ask the horse if you don't even know what it is.
Yep.
That is a little bit, I think there has to be a little bit understanding what the movement is all about. Of course, this is the reason I said to you, sometimes on a schoolmaster or an older horse, you can learn the movement, and I think it's a good thing, but don't consider always everything as a trick. If you really learn in your head what it is of movements, then I think you can really be later a good trainer to train the horse, as only sitting on the horse and expect that the horse is doing it, but the horse has to work with you, not always that you work and the horse is actually, getting a bit more against you or not with you all the time.
Yes.
Yeah, and that is a bit, I think that is many times you hear it the same. I think we have to work and make the horses better, but it doesn't always mean we have to be rough and tough on them, but we have to be a little bit more consistent and the understanding of what we are doing, I think.
Adam, you talked about, your apprenticeship earlier on. Who has been influential to you, with your horse career, with your knowledge, just someone that you can think of and say, well, you wouldn't be where you are today if it hadn't been for them?
Yeah, look, then I have to say, of course, it's not a person maybe here in Australia is very well known, like not a bigger name, but my boss was Thomas Schmitz, and he was a Grand Prix rider, and he was even, I think, I can't remember now the year, but perhaps it was the end of the 80s or 1990, the German professional champion. And I think that was a bit the influence really where I understood the real, almost like philosophy of suppling the horse and achieving the looseness or the suppleness, elasticity, what we always now see, especially now the breeding is better in the World Young Horse Championships or Bundeschampionat, how they move. But even then, the horses, that was always his philosophy to give us. And I think that was a bit the main reason I wanted to do that, yes.
And you said about the horse, the schoolmaster, the first one that you sat on as a jumping horse. Are there any other horses that have influenced you, that have really been standouts that have influenced your career? I'm sure you've ridden many, many horses.
Yeah, good. And of course, when you do the apprenticeship, then you had a possibility to sit on a Grand Prix horse. The horse, what I mentioned before, that was a higher level horse, but I think it was not quite Grand Prix, but so like for changes. But to sit on a Grand Prix is really the feeling what a truly Passage au Piaf means. What you hear, sometimes, I don't know, you know it probably too, Glenys, but sometimes we can see horses that do kind of a passage, but it's really more a slower trot instead of, it's kind of a little bit airtime, but it's not a really passage. And when I was not sitting there on my boss's computer, that was almost so far off the ground. And said passage to be developed almost like the same impulse as extended trot, just suspension and elevation, but it has to have the same impulsion. And it was always sticking with me, even, and I teach of people in a higher level, but if they just do like a slower trot and they don't, only use their hands to slow the horse down, but then the back doesn't work and then you don't get the spring of the hind legs. But again, that was a little bit really the biggest difference that I never thought the passage has so much elevation, suspension or bounce through the body. And I think that is we have to aim for. And I think so many, especially now these days, you have imported horses, and I think there's much better understanding now.
Okay. And do you think the quality of the horses makes it easier then for the riders to get passage?
Yeah. I think, yes, especially the last, came in 97 and even last 20 years, but I think the horse is better, the breeding is better, the riders are better, everything is better. And I think we have still to always remember we have to work always on the basics and to gymnastics. But I think, yes, you're right, it's so much better now. Yes. But if I remember 20 years ago when I started competing, I started in Queensland and I was shocked that I have to compete on grass.
Yes.
I was really shocked. In Germany, it would have never happened that you compete FEI or medium or whatever advanced on grass. And that was a bit a shock, but you get used to it. And yes, it's a bit different. I think it's auch a bit different if in Europe you can't always do it because the grounds are not always as good enough. And the horses maybe are not as tough as here. Perhaps. No?
Okay.
It's really...
Yeah.
So that was a little bit an eye-opener, yes.
Okay. Adam, what do you think's been your proudest moment?
The proudest moment, I think, when I rode the first time Grand Prix, I think.
Okay.
That was for me the biggest thing, yes.
Yeah.
I would say, yeah. Yeah, or even the biggest Grand Prix or even FEI and have, I really had trained a horse to FEI. I did it auch here in Australia, but I think, of course, the proudest moment, I think, is always when you do it the first time, and that was the first time in Germany and FEI and then auch to Grand Prix, and I think that is where you can be really proud of yourself and even what you did and even of the horse and all people involved in it, yes.
Okay, now thinking about, your career as a coach, as a judge, working with horses, what do you think has been your biggest challenge?
When I look really back, the challenge was when I came here to Australia, and for me it was a bit a challenge, maybe not like as if I started teaching it, I thought it was a challenge, but I think when people really want to learn, and the correct way to learn, then it will always, will be okay in a way. But I thought it was in the beginning a challenge, but I think now it's more clarity in all the training, better as in the beginning was. It just was a challenge. Maybe that was a challenge, but maybe for me.
Yeah, sometimes challenges can turn into good fortune. I think, sometimes it would have to be a challenge to go to a different country. How much English did you speak when you were in Germany?
Yeah, look, I would say just a normal school or, a little bit, not as much. And that was probably all a challenge too, the teaching in English. And I think sometimes there are different words, still German words, what there's no really translation to. No, there is no really English words. There's some words, but it doesn't say the same thing about it. But yeah, that challenge, but I think the teaching in general was a bit the challenge to bring it over how I see it or how I learned it, and the training scale, what we do with in Germany, and that now is much more followed us many years before, I think. Yeah.
Okay, now thinking about the riders that you teach, what do you think is a common fault, a skill that could be improved, and then how would the riders go about improving it?
Yeah, many times, if I really do people, especially for many years, then of course, especially in the beginning, but I see a bit now, many people have young horses, and they're quite good young horses. But when you then ask them sometimes what I want to know, do you know the training scale? When they say, something with suppleness, something with paces, something with this. And I'm then really shocked that they don't even know the training scale. And that is a little bit what I heard a few times, that they don't know rhythm, suppleness, contact, impulsion, straightness and collection. But that is a little bit, I think everybody has to know, because now so many good horses, and especially young horses, you have to work on the basics, and that the rhythm is always priority.
Mm. And the other thing is too that learning the training scale, learning the words is different to learning actually what it means.
Yeah, look, I think it's fine if people would say, look, I know the training scale, but sometimes not the meaning, then you can really work on it. But sometimes you have the feeling that there's no really understanding, but auch not really willingness, because they're thinking that it's a bit not important. And when you say it's important and you should know it, and sometimes really so sad it is, that's the last time you hear from the people, because you're thinking, you criticize them instead of want to help them.
Oh, hang on a sec. Let me interrupt to let people know about the horse industry qualifications at onlinehorsecollege.com. If you have a look at the flexible options, there's online theory, and the practical components can be completed by video or with a qualified expert in your area. That website again is onlinehorsecollege.com. Okay, thanks. What about with young horses? Because you judge young horses. What do you think people could learn by improving how to present their young horses?
Yeah, I think, look, we said it there before, and I think the riding and of the young horses are better. And it's not everybody doesn't want to, because if they teach a little bit of a bit young horses, and some people, they really have open ears and they really have a little bit of understanding, and the representing is really much the right word to say. It's not just how good they're platted and how pretty the horses look and the rider look. It's really how you present the horse for the test. And I think I have a really few people, what I know, they have a bit more understanding how to ride and show the quality of the young horses. What is in you really big. You have really young horse riders, they ride Bundeschampionship, young horse championships. And here it's a little bit, it's getting better and better. And I think it's just to ride them looser, over the back, and really up into the bridle, into the contact, and really that they stay in front of your leg. And it's kind of, they have always the willingness to go, not that you have to kick them around. I think then you can really show them off. Okay. So working really on the quality. Do you see people who may have a better quality horse, someone does well with not as good a quality horse because they're riding it better? Yes. Look, I'll let you know. I think it's probably, too, it's like sometimes you ride a horse and it has not good quality, but sometimes you have a horses, maybe they have not like this flashiness about it, but they're really willing to work and they're good to train. And then sometimes you have horses, they're really flashy, powerful and loose, but they have a little bit of attitude, a bit temperament, and perhaps not the willingness to work. And I think then it's very much, then you have to be a bit sensitive about it, how you start to work with more difficult horses, but even perhaps more talent or quality, but not really the willingness all the time. And sometimes I had a few horses, they're really kind of average basic, but very willing and very trainable. Then I think you can make them better and better because of good training, good exercises, and the bigger, the more natural elastic horses, but not really willing to stay with you all the time. You have to have a bit more experience and a bit more, again, discipline, not to overdo things, that it comes into fighting the horse, instead to work out what you have to do to keep it on your side.
Yep. Yeah. All right. Now, what are you looking forward to in the future, Adam? What have you got young horses, riders coming on? You're looking forward to doing more clinics, more judging. What are you looking forward to?
Yeah, look, I did this last year, a lot of clinics interstate and in Queensland and in Perth, in Canberra, and there were always so nice young horses, good riders and good understanding. And of course, I did a lot of judging the nationals now for 3 or 4 years in a row. And I love it too. And at the moment, I'm not riding at the moment since I had in 2015 the heart attack. But I really always look forward now for teaching and judging, and try always to help people as good as I can and give things what I learned to the people they want to learn.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, I think that's good. And I think people do tend to do that. You know, they ride, they compete, but then they go on and give back to the sport by judging and coaching and things like that. Yeah. Adam, can you sum up your philosophy into a lesson today for our listeners?
I think whoever has horses and tries either to ride the young horses, it's really like, for me, would be the philosophy really to work and always be working with the horse. Because when I was a bit younger, probably you're a bit eager and competitive, and perhaps you were not always, you could be always a bit more sensitive about it. But I always think now, just work on the quality and don't try to do quick things. Even the horse offers things that you are overdoing it, and you make it then in the long run only worse, I think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think when we were younger, we have sometimes the competitive, and the horse, especially some younger horses, they really offer things, and we try to do more and more instead of just keep it a bit better controlled and not more age appropriate, I think.
Yep. Okay.
I think that's the right word, more age appropriate, and just the philosophy to work on the training scale and really the quality and what you want to achieve really later with the horse. No, but it doesn't always work just you give the horse kind of sugar. You have to be disciplined and a bit more concentrated, what is really important, I think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, Adam, how can people contact you?
Yeah, good. I'm on the judges list. I'm on the internet and the website, booking for lessons or clinics, and
Okay. And your details will be on our page as well, which will be horsechats.com/Adam Riess.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Adam, it's been wonderful talking to you today, talking about just coming to Australia, bringing in all of your knowledge and teaching the riders, and, just your philosophy as well on teaching and training has been very good. And I'd like to catch up with you again sometime. That'd be good. And thanks very much for talking to us today.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Bye-bye. If you've enjoyed this chat, then please comment, rate and subscribe. If you'd like any changes or recommendations for guests, then please contact us through horsechats.com. And while you're online, have a look at the government-accredited courses at internationalhorsecollege.com. Registered Training Organisation 31352.
Remember that our comments and instructions are general in nature and do not take into consideration your individual horses or your individual ability and circumstances. If you enjoyed this podcast, then please leave your comment below.